P-51, a C model. See how they're different? The first is a D, the second is a C. That particular airplane, courtesy of our friends at the Commemorative Air Force, the Red Tail. But at the direction of President Franklin Roosevelt, a flight training program was set up in Tuskegee, Alabama. The program was designed by the Army Air Corps to prove that black men could not fly. That's right. They just didn't think that they could do it. But they were wrong. Boy, were they wrong. Black men could fly. They could fight. And the pilots who trained at the segregated Tuskegee Army Airfield proved it. They became one of the most successful groups of pilots in World War II, and they are forever known as the Tuskegee Airmen. I'm talking about the Tuskegee Airmen, the men who went down there to Tuskegee Army Airfield, and they proved that indeed black men could fly. This tells that story. Quicksilver, if you'll notice it, has different markings than the Red Tail Mustang. And here he comes. From the left, Brad Lang. Brad Lang, remember that name. Brad, bringing in the Red Tails. P-51 Charlie model now. Now this particular airplane comes with a movie. And I want to tell you, you need to come out and see the movie Rise Above, because it tells the story of nearly 1,000 black pilots who received flight training at the segregated base there in Tuskegee, Alabama. But over 14,000 blacks supported. They supported those 1,000 pilots. They had to learn how to take care of the airplanes. They had to learn how to be maintainers. We had a whole crew of Tuskegee Airmen, 450 fighter pilots, 445, I should say, fighter pilots and their crews operated as segregated combat units throughout North Africa and the Mediterranean, and finally Europe. 66. Wow. 66 Tuskegee Airmen gave their lives, and 32 were captured as prisoners of war. The airmen were awarded over 850 medals, including the Presidential Unit Citation, the highest award that can be given to a military unit. The museum and you see the lion in the cage, it doesn't do much. But when you go to the zoo and you hear it roar, it all makes sense. Listen now to Brad Lang and the Red Tails Mustang roar on past. And hopefully into our hearts. What a story those two aircraft tell. Go see the movie. These airplanes, boy, they take more time and attention than most 3-year-olds do. They're just remarkably difficult to keep maintained. But Scott and his father built this airplane. Scooter now in his 30s. Probably the best P-51 Mustang demonstration pilot flying in the air show scene today. This young man can flat out fly this airplane. To him, I'm talking about Colonel Charles McGee, a real-life hero from Cleveland, Ohio. He lives out in Maryland here now. But Charles McGee, one of the original Tuskegee Airmen, who flew a Stearman just like this, down there in Tuskegee, Alabama. Then went on, as we said, 409 combat missions. And his buddy's here with me. You drove him in this morning. Tell everybody your name.
Actually, he drove himself in.
He drove himself in. Well, that's just how he does, isn't it?
Yeah, Vincent Mickens up.
Vincent, we're glad you're here. You and Colonel McGee have been hanging out down there. Look at this, Brad down there. Brad Lang, the son of a Tuskegee Airman, down there in the Mustang. And Colonel Charles McGee in the Stearman. What is historic about this is that he flew in, didn't he, at one point in these Stearmans?
Yes.
Down in Tuskegee, where he trained as a pilot.
77 years ago.
Isn't that remarkable?
It is.
And he is hard to keep up with.
This is the exact same plane.
Isn't that incredible?
The 1941 Stearman.
That is so cool to see.
PT-17.
And he's up front, if I remember right. Is he
He's
up front? You can see he's actually riding then in the student position, in the same seat that he would have flown it in.
Exactly.
And we're commemorating this here today. Give Colonel McGee a big wave. Now, the movie, Rise Above, actually features his story along with everyone else's.
That's correct.
So you got to go see the movie, Rise Above, that Colonel McGee is part of. Now, he flew in all 3 wars, including Vietnam. He was an F-4 guy.
Yes.
Flew that big
F-4
fighter.
that's what he flew in Vietnam.
You know, we were hanging out one day. I've said it publicly, but my wife, who is active duty Air Force, was walking through the Pentagon one day. I just finished interviewing him up in Oshkosh. We did a big thing on stage and talked to him in Vegas a time or two at our other events that we do, where we host and interview these guys. And he was just sitting there on a little bench in the Pentagon, and she said, "Oh my God, Colonel McGee, how are you?" And he goes, "I drove in today to see somebody." I don't remember what he was there doing. Drove himself to the Pentagon, though. 90-something years old.
Exactly.
Just sitting there in the hallways. Most unassuming man you'd ever meet in your life. Am I wrong about that?
He's extremely humble.
And think of what he's
for
been
his
through.
accomplishments, it's absolutely amazing.
It really is.
I think that's one of the great things about him, is that he just feels that it's a service that he's done for his country, and that's what he had to do, and he didn't look at it in any other way. So he doesn't see himself as a hero.